On ESPN Cricinfo Match Day, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G, we're looking ahead to the fourth and final test at Ahmedabad. Ian Bell and Aakash Chopra are all set to join me as we preview this last test match. Right, gentlemen, we've all had a few extra days off. One last time on this tour, let's preview a test match, shall we? And it's not a pink ball test, it's a red ball test. Aakash, our first point of conversation is, will that change things? Will the red ball make it slightly easier for batsmen?
A lot easier for the batsman, not slightly. And I do feel that so a curator would have also understood how this pitch has behaved. This ground hadn't seen a first-class game since 2015. That's 6 long years. And suddenly you're preparing a pitch for a test match, a pink ball test match where you don't even know how the pink ball is going to behave. So if you have to put all those things in perspective, I think you're in for at least a 4-day test match, if not a 5-day test match. Of course, it will be a much better surface to play. SG test ball, the red one, will make batting a lot easier as well.
Especially from England's points, both teams did collapse in that last test, Belly. But from England's point of view, the change of ball, that's something they'd welcome.
I think so. I mean, again, it's going to be difficult. If I was India now, more of the same. Obviously, like we said, the pitch should be better. I think that the lacquer on the ball really sped at the ball, and that straight ball skidded on nicely. So it should be a little bit more normal, but more of the same for India. I mean, again, looking at the way they've played now, I'd be opening with Axar Patel straight away, and it would be 2 seamers and 3 spinners again. I think they've certainly found England struggle a little bit here recently. I think it's 5 innings now where they haven't got over 200, so more of the same when it comes to spin. But definitely expect the pitch to be better during just a normal test match with the normal SG ball.
Now, no surprises. That is the first name from either side that's come up in the answers of Ian Bell and Aakash Chopra. Axar Patel, red ball, pink ball. It's all the same for Axar Patel's test career. He's averaging under 10 in these 2 test matches. Belly, if you were sitting in that England dressing room right now, you're to talk to England's batsmen ahead of this test match. They need to do something to negate the Axar Patel threat. What can they do?
Well, 100%. I think it's a bit of a balancing act. I think for me, the left-handers have to take a little bit of ownership, as we saw Rashid Pant do with the ball turning in to Jack Leach, is be a bit more proactive, maybe try and ask him a few questions, try and maybe take him on a little bit. I think for the right-handers, certainly in the last test match, it was particularly hard. I think you have to make a decision on which dismissal you're going to try and take out of the game, and England, probably too many to LBW bowled on straight deliveries, and nearly accept that if you get one pitching middle stump and it turns and you get caught slip or it hits top of off, that's okay, that's great bowling. But they've got to make a decision on really negating that straight delivery, play nice and straight, get out on ball. But they've got to find ways of rotating the strike. They've found Axar Patel, I think, the hardest. Certainly, when we look back at the first test match, how well England swept the ball. But I think they haven't quite found a way yet to put Axar Patel under a lot of pressure. He's been outstanding, to be fair. I know there's been a talk about the pitches, but his areas that he has bowled and his lines, his lengths, his paces have been absolutely outstanding. And I think these are only his first 2 test matches is incredible. He looks like he's been doing this for a long time. So England have got to find a way of putting him under a bit of pressure.
Oh, there's only one left-hander now in that top in that batting lineup, Aakash, and Ben Stokes, no Rory Burns, no Moeen Ali. Is Stokes the big player? Can he be that one man that you say, all right, you put some pressure on Axar, play differently, take him on, chance your arm?
Yes, and a little bit of a no as well. Stokes, because he's that good a player. He's a century is also due in these test matches. He's played now. He'll be playing the 4th test match. He got some runs in the first test match, and he did make a difference in the eventual outcome. See, for Axar Patel, I genuinely feel if the ball is not turning as much, then it'll be a very interesting game, because Axar hasn't been challenged on a decent surface yet with the red SG ball. I think, of course, with Ben Stokes, but over-aggressive is something that I wouldn't be, because he's very fast. He's too quick. He's very different to what Jack Leach bowls. I'd say just see how the pitch behaves. It might not be as difficult to counter Axar Patel as we have seen so far if the pitch is actually a decent batting surface.
Okay. What about personnel changes? And let's go to England. They got a few things wrong in that last test at Ahmedabad. We're back from pink ball to red ball, Belly. What's England's ideal 11?
Yeah, I don't see there being too many changes, certainly with the top 6. I think it'll be tough on Johnny Bairstow having flown back in to give him one game and out. So I think that will stay the same. They may the change already with Burns and Crawley. So I see that staying the same. Again, you probably look in hindsight now, I think England looked to use advantage with the seaming ball, and it just wasn't that test match, was it? So they probably look back and accept that they got that one wrong. So you'd expect Dom Best to come in, and it'll be the three spinners with Root, Leach and Bess, and two seamers, and then using Stokes when you can. So I'd imagine they'll go back to nearly Plan A, which was sort of the format from the first test match, which was successful. And I thought Ollie Stone actually was a bit hard done, but I thought in his second test match in particular, I thought he was an outstanding. He did outstanding well. So it would be nice to see what they do with that. I think there'll be one of Archer or him, and then maybe one of Paul Anderson. They'll rotate, and maybe it's part of the plan of the series so far.
Now, Virat Kohli is an interesting conversation at this point. Akash, fact remains that he's getting a half century almost every test match. He's not playing too many. However, is this lack of big scores? We don't expect Kohli to get starts and then suddenly get out. He's never been that sort of batsman. Is that a concern at all for India?
May not be for India, but for him, for a player, Virat Kohli, the batsman, of course, it is a concern because you do want to score those hundreds. And that's the difference between a good and a great player. Good players, they get starts, they do throw it away quite often. Great players don't. And that's where Virat Kohli has been different from the rest. His conversion rate is absolutely phenomenal. Now, that's the case with Root, or that's the case with Smith and Kane Williamson as well. And that's why they are the Fab Four, right? So, you would obviously assume that it is just chipping away at Virat Kohli, that the fact that the centuries are not coming. Of course, you can't just consume yourself with that thought. I'll be very surprised if it is not playing on his mind a little bit that, this time when I get a start, I need to make it big. And to be fair, the moment he gets one century, I'm expecting him to score quite a few back-to-back.
I mean, he's a victim of his own high standards, Billy. But fact is that now there's a social media, there's a Twitter account which counts the number of days that Kohli's gone without an international 100. It's a ruthless world we live in. You can't help but think that somewhere all this is like Akash says, somewhere perhaps at the back of the mind of a Virat Kohli, 460 plus days without an international 100.
Yeah, I think it always plays on your mind as a batsman. You want to be producing the goods, don't you? Match-winning performances, and he's done that as well as anyone ever has in the game. So I think it's just another reminder he's a human being. The game does go in ebbs and flows. I agree. He gets 100 and he'll probably go on an absolute run of a number of hundreds. And sometimes it's a reminder as a player that when you get in, make it count. And actually, to be fair, looking back in the series, he's got a couple of probably the best deliveries in the series so far. I remember the Moeen Ali one in particular. Sometimes that happens. A little bit of luck and he'll be off. From an English point of view, the worrying thing, he hasn't got going in this series, and India is still managing to win. So that's a concerning point because it's only a matter of time until he does get going.
Yep. All right. Fair enough. Virat Kohli does have a little bit of work in addition to trying to find that 100. There's one selection call that he needs to make. Jasprit Bumrah has been released from the squad. So Akash, Mohammad Siraj is featured earlier in this series. Does he come in, or does Umesh Yadav, with his very impressive home record, get preference?
I'd be tempted to play Mohammad Siraj. It's only for one test match. He's already played a test match. He also played a few test matches in Australia. Umesh Yadav is coming out of the cold, and it's just the last test match of the series. I don't want to take a chance personally. I'll play Mohammad Siraj ahead of Umesh Yadav for this one test match. In any case, fast bowlers are going to have little less to work with regards to the bowling workload, because India is likely to play as many as 3 spinners once again.
Thank you very much, Ian Bell and Aakash Chopra. This was ESPN Cricinfo Matchday powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G.